Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Welcome aboard. Anyway, of course, this is brought to you by, interestingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. And even more interestingly enough, all through the month of August, we are sponsored by Roleplaying. That's right, the home of the redesigned Ultimate Bag of Holding. Look, it's in 3D, kids. Yes, we will talk about Roleplaying in just a few moments. But welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. This is live show 1092. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual. Just hang out talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And then I will normally pontificate about a topic related to our hobby, which I shall be doing tonight. In fact, we are going to ponder if Marc Miller's sale of Traveler to Mongoose Publishing is a good thing, or maybe it's not. We will discuss. But of course, that will be coming up after the tabletop gaming news. But once again, as I mentioned, super casual around here. We're certainly not engaged in any sort of rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Now, of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, because this is a live stream, that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And of course, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 10 minutes before you can take part in chat. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Cthulhu, and the Badger is with us. Gleam1RX, Flaming Heron, one of our chat moderators, is joining us. W Forge, Stephen from Roll for Combat, and Adam Knight are with us in chat. And Tessie Trekkie just popped on in. So Roll for Combat asks, rocket surgery? Yes. I'm trying to remember what it was from. It was some show, and it was kind of like, oh, it's a mashup of, it's not rocket science and it's not brain surgery. So that's where the mashup comes out. It's not rocket surgery. Or, there you go. The Badger says, just like it's kind of like brain science. Yes. Anyway, I was talking about this month's sponsor. That's right. It is Roleplaying. Once again, they are the home of the newly redesigned Ultimate Bag of Holding. They are also the outfitter for Gen Con. And on the horizon is a Kickstarter for an expansion to Heroes of Barcadia. That's right. I'm talking about Heroes for Hire. Heroes from across the lands gather in Barcadia for a grand drinking competition, as you may remember. But the festivities turn dire when the Grand Drink Guardians monsters steal all the drinks. 8 valiant volunteers step up, only to be thwarted by the die of barcane chaos. The heroes face an unexpected setback and retreat to the tavern, where they explain everything to Brutus Pint Smasher, the event organizer. He sends off letters to distant lands for help, and his plea is answered by 4 valiant heroes, the heroes for hire. With rewards aplenty should they succeed, they venture into the dungeon. Their trials surpass even those of the original heroes. But will they be triumphant? That's for you to decide. Outmaneuver your opponents to become the ultimate hero in this thrilling adventure, coming in September to Kickstarter. If you're curious about Heroes of Barcadia, I have reviewed it. The gang and I had a good time with it. We enjoyed ourselves with some adult beverages. And I'm curious to see what especially the Die of Barcane Chaos is going to look like. But if you go to Roll a Crit and you sign up to be notified of the Kickstarter launch and you back the Heroes for Hire, you will receive an exclusive power-up. So keep your eyes peeled for that. All right. So I'm going to also point out, even though she's not in chat, I would not be surprised if the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D is lurking. So I believe we will have two chat moderators, two mints in one, but separate chat moderators. I'm going to take a guess. This is probably the Madman's Game Wednesday. So otherwise, I'm sure we would see the Madman popping on in our third chat moderator. All right, let's jump on into the news because I've got a good eclectic mix tonight. It is Wednesday, so how about some war game news? Because now available from GMT Games is Next War Iran. Here's what I know. The Middle East has long been a hobgoblin for foreign powers and, as much as Afghanistan, also a graveyard of empires. Sitting squarely astride ancient trade routes, and with the added impetus of the world's addiction to oil, the area has been a hotspot for centuries. Now, with the old regime teetering and losing its grip, Iran makes a bid for forcing the West to recognize its complete sovereignty and control over its own affairs by striking at the one thing they care about, the flow of oil. Mining the Straits of Hormuz and declaring it closed to all traffic, Iran defies the world. The U.S. and perhaps some of its allies takes action to reopen the straits and get the black gold flowing to the world again. Next War Iran is the 6th game in the Next War series. It is unique in the series in that the allied player has to do the attacking, while the non-allied player attempts to defend its territory against neo-imperial oppression. With a long logistical tail, few true allies in the region, and the menace of Iran's A2AD capabilities, reopening the straits is a tall order. Ownership of any of the previous Next War series is not required to play Next War Iran. It is its own standalone game. There are several standard game scenarios. Some are small and focus on limited objectives, while at least one is a campaign game encompassing the entire map. Similarly to previous games in the series, the advanced game scenarios will be divided into various starting points representing different levels of buildup before the game begins. So the question remains, can you, as the allied player, enforce the will of the West on Iran and get the oil flowing again? Or will you, as the Iranian player, defy the world? Next War Iran is for 1 or 2 players, ages 14 and up, plays around 60 to 480 minutes, carries an MSRP of $85. And as I pointed out, it is available now because it just arrived. Yes. So I will be sharing a first look video at Next War Iran. I will point out these are some of the most complex of the GMT war games that come out. They are usually rated on a scale of 1 to 9. They're usually like 8s and 9s. So, but they really, really get down into the nitty gritty as far as possible hotspots. Like there's Next War Korea, there's Next War, I want to say, I think it's Pakistan, if I remember correctly. Like I said, this is the 6th in the series. So very nice. So stay tuned. We will be taking a dive on in to take a peek soon. W. Ford says they remember the micro game Raid on Iran. I ordered that. I had that. I actually ordered it through an ad in, I think it was Dragon Magazine way back in the day. That was, I think, I gotta say, I think that was before Steve Jackson started designing any of the micro games, because that was kind of the first micro game that he ever did. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. Walona's Cave is with us. Yes, Miss Sarah D is moderating chat for us. Very nice. Very nice. Coco B is also popping on into chat, as has Kathy Evans. So Coco B said, Heroes for Hire grumbles that they didn't see no Luke Cage, nor any Iron Fist either. Yeah. Let's talk about some role-playing game news, because now arriving in stores from Roll for Combat, geez, why does that name ring a bell? Is Battlezoo Eldamon. Here's the skinny. Befriend, train, battle, and evolve over 160 monsters with 13 distinctive elements with Battlezoo Eldamon. Eldamon are ancient creatures slightly out of phase with reality that like to meld into items, creatures, and locations. You can add them seamlessly into any setting, allowing characters to interact with and collect them without disrupting the established adventure or requiring the game master to build or change the encounters. This includes a new class, the Eldamon Trainer. Evolve Eldamon and unlock new powers. As an Eldamon Trainer, your main focus is, well, you guessed it, the Eldamon you befriend and train. Unlike other characters who befriend Eldamon, you can phase your Eldamon in and battle any foe using Eldamon. This gives you a flexible play style with several Eldamon ready to fight, allowing you to choose the Eldamon. Wow, how many times am I going to say that word? That's right for the job and fill several possible roles depending on what the group needs moment to moment. Another new class, Elemental Avatar. Embody the power of the Eldamon. As an elemental avatar, you embody the power of an Eldamon within you, allowing you to manifest special powers based on the Eldamon's element. This allows you to fill a slightly different role in the party, depending on the element you choose. The playstyle is rotational, using each ability when it suits you best, rather than having the same ability repeatedly. Do want to mention over at the Roll for Combat website, battlezoo.com, there is a slew more information about Battlezoo Eldamon. If I read it all, we'd probably be here for about 15 minutes. So I am just kind of giving you some of the highlights. But you can score the hardcover of Battlezoo Eldamon for either 5e Dungeons and Dragons, that clocks in at 244 pages with PDF, or you can get Pathfinder, which is 272 pages with the PDF, for MSRPs of $69.99. Currently, you can save a few bucks. You can grab them for $64.99 over at battlezoo.com, or the PDF carries normally an MSRP of $50. Currently, you can grab it for $39.99. Also, once again, over at battlezoo.com. And as Stephen points out, you can download a free guide to test it out. Well, I don't know. Oh my goodness, an Eldamon just popped in my hands. So this is the 5e edition. So this is the one that clocks in at 244 pages. Amazingly enough, I also have the Pathfinder edition, because a certain someone sent these along to me alongside the Battlezoo Ancestries Classic Creatures, which I want to say I shared a news piece about, I think it was last week, because this is out in stores too. This is the Pathfinder edition, and there is also the 5e D&D edition. So Flaming Heron says, reviews incoming. I gotta be honest, I'm kind of curious. Would you like to see just the reviews, or do you want to see first looks and reviews later on down the line? Up to you guys, because what I'm planning on doing is I will focus on 5e D&D for one of them. And then I will also focus on the Pathfinder edition for the other. So the Classic Creatures is not out until October. So I guess we can hold off on this. But correct me if I'm wrong, Stephen, but this is out in stores, correct? The Eldamon, which just magically appeared in my hands. Like a Pokemon? Oops. I guess we can't use that word. Because I see you can order it off your website. So I thought that's out. Yes. Okay. Thank you. I was going to say. So there you go. So Eldamon's out now, and Classic Creatures is going to be arriving in October, and there is a Kickstarter that's on the horizon too for Roll for Combat. You'll have to wait to find out more about that. On to the next news piece. Metis Creative has teamed with Bundle of Holding to offer a money-saving offer on the Historica Arcanum Era of the Crusades role-playing game. And I've got the deets on the deal. Adventure! This all-new Historica Arcanum Crusades bundle presents, you guessed it, Historica Arcanum Era of the Crusades, the historical fantasy campaign setting from Metis Creative for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and compatible tabletop role-playing game systems. Historica Arcanum settings reveal the occult secrets of world history. Era of the Crusades explores the monumental 12th century conflict between Crusader knights and the forces of Saladin. Bring Jerusalem and Cairo to your gaming table with quests, character highlights, and cultural articles. In magical counterparts to real landmarks, you'll meet historical figures and fight legendary monsters, solve mysteries, intrigue among factions, and shape the arcane history of the Historica Arcanum universe. Gameplay options include new character classes and subclasses, knightly orders and professions, a complete bestiary, and the Deck of the Damned, a system for combat and narrative stress. Last August, Bundle of Holding presented the original Historica Arcanum line, featuring the Mongol-era Silk Road and an alternate historical Victorian Istanbul to promote the spectacular August 2023 Era of the Crusaders Kickstarter. Now this all-new offer presents the Crusades line as a promotion for Metis Creative's new crowdfunding campaign, Historica Arcanum Echoes of Renaissance, which reveals the shadows of Venice and its Grand Carnival. For just $12.95, you'll get all 3 titles in the Crusades collection as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete Era of the Crusades settings sourcebook and the full-length campaign, The Sigil of Jerusalem. You'll also receive a free 15-track Era of the Crusades soundtrack with original music to enhance your game sessions. As a convenience, you're also going to receive the free Era of the Crusades digital library with maps, wallpapers, virtual tabletop tokens, and more. These savings do run through September 16th. I remember sharing the news piece about the previous bundle of holding, and Metis Creative actually had reached out to me. They were like, "Oh, we'd love to have you review our role-playing game." Never heard from them again. I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. Artwork looks good. Almost appears like there's like vampires behind the scenes here. I don't know, those fangs kind of, I don't know, make me feel that way. But yeah, strangely enough, they never contacted me again. I was like, oh, okay. Guess they didn't care for me. Anyway, although I didn't review anything of theirs anyway. But yes, you can grab the previous Kickstarter and PDF on the cheap to help promote the new Kickstarter, which is going to be for the Renaissance era. Kind of cool. Kind of cool. Russell Higgins is with us in chat. Good to see you, Russell. Moving right along. Simian Circle Games is entering their final week of a successful Kickstarter to bring a second edition of the Far Away Land role-playing game to the masses. Here's the scoop. Faraway Land is a quirky science fantasy role-playing game that blends elements of both science fiction and fantasy into a unique setting filled with colorful, sometimes bizarre art. Faraway Land is rules light and easy to learn and play. It is a great entry into gaming for new and young players. Math is simple. It uses only 6-sided dice. The mechanics of Faraway Land are built around a hub of core rules with optional rules that more experienced groups can add to their games as they see fit. Everything is very modular by design. In Faraway Land, players take on the roles of characters who are interested in adventures and exploring a vast and unpredictable world. The game is designed for fast play with a focus on immersion and emergent narratives. While influenced by old-school role-playing game approaches to play, like making it up as you go along, not defining every single element of play, Faraway Land streamlines many aspects of play to make running and playing a game easy and immersive for players and GMs. Everything in Faraway Land is meant to be dynamic, engaging, and immersive. Players and GMs are encouraged to narrate what is taking place during interactions and combat just as much as they're encouraged to roll dice. Every character in Faraway Land has boons, which define their areas of expertise. This is a classless game that lets players create and evolve their character as they advance and as they see fit. So if you want a character that's all about magic, sink experience point upgrades into the arcane boon and learn new spells. Want a character that can fight with the best of them? Drop some XP into the melee or scuffle boon. Want a thief? Focus on the sneak and subterfuge boons. Faraway Land, once again, uses only 6-sided dice for play. A simple dice pool mechanic allows for fast conflict resolution and minimal math. Roll a number of dice, take the high roll, compare it to a target number or opposed roll. That's the basics. Now, there is a very short Kickstarter video. It's not even a minute in length. But you'll get a closer look at a lot more of the artwork. So let's take a peek. As I said, pretty darn short video. Now, I should mention this project is past the 1,000% funding mark. There are a slew of various pledge levels. Suffice to say, you can score all 3 core volumes in hardcover with PDFs and unlock stretch goals for a pledge of $120 if you're here in the US. If not, you can get at cost drive-through RPG print coupons for a $60 pledge if you're outside the US. Now, there is also a hardcover edition that is going to collect the core rulebook and the bestiary. That is available as a separate purchase if you want. You can get that in hardcover or PDF, or you can grab just all 3 of the books in PDF plus stretch goals for a $50 pledge through September 5th. The turnaround on this looks very fast. Expected delivery is actually November. That is for the print as well. So this must be done. This must be finished, and they are just looking to figure out how many orders they're placing with the printer. It's got to be it. Funny enough, I stumbled across this, and I thought, you know what? That art style looks really familiar. I'm like, I know I've shared news about this game previously. So Faraway Land originally came out 10 years ago. That's why they're looking to do a new edition, a second edition. But they also did Faraway Land OSR about 4 years ago. I shared news of that because I was sitting there. I'm like, I remember the little one-eyed dude who's there on the, I think he's only got one eye, on the cover of the core rule book. I was like, I've seen that art style. So I was like, yeah, pretty cool. Gleamon RX says, art looks like Cartoon Network. Yes, it does. It does quite a bit. Dice Tales, Lord Cost 2000, and Mike are with us in chat today. Welcome to y'all. All right, let's move on to my final news piece. Now available in PDF for Shadow of the Weird Wizard is Weird Ancestries. And I've got the lowdown from Schwalb Entertainment. Mysterious Yanai and fierce sphinxes, flighty sprites and diminutive dragonettes, and many more. These remarkable peoples from all corners of the known world have one thing in common. They're ready to make your campaigns even more unique and memorable. At last, a collection of characters as fantastical as the world of Shadow of the Weird Wizard. Weird Ancestries gives you the rules and background to play almost any kind of character in the Borderlands. Each of the 32-page Ancestries offers information about how to play the character as an adventurer, including origins, professions, and paths. Detailed physical descriptions enhanced with a cool piece of color art. Full rules for the Ancestry's talents and traits, as well as facts about society and culture, plus optional Ancestry paths to help you build out characters that reflect cultural characteristics. Some of these folks you've briefly met in Secrets of the Weird Wizard, and others are brand new. Run them as described or customize them to fit your own vision. You'll find something here to spark every player's imagination. And keep in mind, this is for players and sages alike. And it's suitable for all levels of play. This 66-page PDF is available now over at Drive-Thru RPG for $11.99. Keithulu said the one-eyed guy from Faraway Land had to close down his school because he only had one pupil. It's like, ouch. Ouch. Ba-dun-dunce. The old rim shot there. This looks kind of cool. I had peeked through Shadow of the Weird Wizard, at least the core book. that was sent along to me in PDF by Robert Schwalb, but I have not had an opportunity to see the, what is it, Shadows? I think it's Shadows of the Weird Wizard is the core rulebook, or Shadow singular, and then Secrets of the Weird Wizard is the Gamemaster book. I did not have an opportunity to see the Gamemaster book. So curious when we're going to actually see the physical releases of those, because I'm very interested to see what happens with that, because I had always heard a lot of people talking about how good the Shadow of the Demon Lord is, but it's kind of a grim, dark sort of setting. And people were looking for something that would be a little more high fantasy, things like that. So that is what this system is. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. I would take a guess we're probably going to see the release of the 2 physical books. Taking a stab in the dark, maybe next Gen Con. Just a guess. I would hope it's before then, but never know. Never know. Flaming Heron said they had to pick this up because they really love, there you go, Shadow of the Demon Lord. Like I said, I've heard a lot of people really, really dig that as far as kind of their replacement for D&D. So there you have it. All right, that is it for the tabletop gaming news for this evening. Now, of course, I was just talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit Drive-Thru RPG, Storytellers Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, even Wargame Vault, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale, and all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Yay. If you like this video, if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop on by paypal.me/thegaminggang to make a small donation. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Lovely. And there are some of you out there who stop by paypal.me/thegaminggang and make not small donations, such as the Madman, Agile Monk, and Joshua Edwards, as well as Kevin King. So there are a few of you out there who do stop by paypal.me/thegaminggang from time to time. It is most appreciated. Nero's Fiddle is with us, popping on in. Said they just saw the title of the stream. They had no idea this happened. Wow, end of an era. We're going to get to that in just a few moments. That's right. We are going to talk about the sale of Traveler to Mongoose Publishing. Kind of get into some details about it. There was a little misinformation that was floating around too. So hopefully I can clear that up. But we are going to get into that in just a few moments. Did want to mention we have now passed 13,900 subscribers on the Gaming Gang YouTube channel. So getting close to 14,000. Wish more of those 14,000 would actually watch videos, but it's like, okay. It's all right. You keep watching, I'll keep making them. Kind of like Doritos, right? Keep eating those Doritos, they'll make more. I believe. Anyway, we are going to talk about the sale of Traveler to Mongoose Publishing in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks, and that means it's time for a tasty snack. How about a stroll over to the refreshment counter for a delicious bite to eat? You don't have to worry about missing any part of the show because our announcer will let you know 3 minutes before the show starts again. See you over at the refreshment counter.
Here's magic, popcorn magic. Only hot, fresh, perfectly seasoned popcorn can satisfy that movie time popcorn craving. So if you like popcorn, you'll really like ours. We start with the best and make it better. Get plenty for everybody now.
I'll warn you in advance, I'm not going to like your prune.
I see. And why do you say that?
I say that for a very simple reason. I don't like prunes.
Mm-hmm. And why?
For one thing, prunes are wrinkled, and I don't like wrinkled fruit.
You don't?
No, I don't like wrinkled fruit at all. And then there's the matter of the pits. Disgusting.
Yes.
Well, what do you do with a prune pit once it's in your mouth? There's no way of getting rid of a prune pit gracefully.
I agree. That's why Sunsweet has developed this brand new pitted prune, you see? No pits.
What do you mean, no pits?
I mean no pits. Go ahead, try one.
Oh, well, yes, may as well get it over. No pits.
No pits.
How do they do that?
They do it.
Well, they're very sweet and moist.
Yes. Has Sunsweet managed to change your mind with their brand new pitted prune?
Possibly. They're still rather badly wrinkled, you know.
Today the pits, tomorrow the wrinkles. Sunsweet marches on.
Okay, buddy, what do you think of Wilkins coffee? I never tasted it. Now, what do you think of Wilkins?
With the swiftness of a dead cosmic ray, the Earth is invaded by indestructible moon monsters. Their ghastly mission, death for all humans. What astounding technical developments are being made to protect mankind? Robot Monster brings you an actual preview of the devastating forces of our future. Unsuspected revelations of incredible horrors that will terrify you with their brutal reality.
There is no escape from me. Very well. I will recalculate. Your death will be indescribable. Fool humans, there is no escape.
Yes, how many of you out there knew Robot Monster was originally released as Monster from Mars? I knew that. Also, one of the worst movies ever made. In fact, I think over the years there have been some worst movie lists that have named it the absolute worst. In fact, a little known fact. In fact, a little known fact. Okay. Yeah, that's good. The director of Monster from Mars / Robot Monster attempted to commit suicide a few months after the movie came out because he was so depressed by the response the film got, as well as not getting paid what he was owed for the movie. Crazy. Mike says popcorn movie ads remind them of laying on the warm hood of their dad's Dodge Dart at the drive-in. You know, I used to every once in a while, as I was older, I was in my 20s, I would go to the drive-in every once in a while out near where my dad and my stepmom lived at the time. And I would do that. I would bring a couple of blankets and lay them on the hood in my windshield and kick it, sit out there, just watching flicks. I was like, yeah. Keith Ulu says they don't think it's the worst movie ever made. For that, they have to go with The Beast of Hollow Mountain or Cruel Intentions. Well, I'll tell you what, Caligula gives it a run for its money. Caligula is just god awful. And that's with or without the X-rated scenes. It is god, and I'm a huge fan of Malcolm McDowell and Helen Mirren. Mythic Mountains RPG is with us in chat. I think it might be a first-time visit in chat. That name is not ringing a bell. Gamemaster's Hobby is also with us. All right, so let's talk about tonight's topic, because it was revealed yesterday that the Traveler role-playing game creator Marc Miller had sold Traveler, the rights to Traveler, as well as many other Traveler-related items, such as board games in the Traveler universe, sold it to Mongoose Publishing. So I'm going to share the announcement that he made online. Then we'll talk a little bit about some misinformation that popped out. John Muscola is with us in chat. Said, how much did Penthouse Magazine spend for Caligula? I think Bob Guccione spent a pretty penny on that. And if I'm trying to remember, I think for some strange reason, I think it was directed by this Italian director who kind of did softcore, and then he started doing like hardcore. I think his name was Tino Brass. Why I know these things, I don't. I'm one of these people who just knows all this useless information. That's why I was always really good at Trivial Pursuit, except for the geography. Wasn't so great with geography, or as I used to always jokingly refer to it, Gigogaki. Shit, it's Gigogaki. All right, so here's the announcement. Some years ago, fellow game designer Greg Stafford died, and I was impressed that his company announced almost immediately that he had a succession plan in place and that his legacy and his designs would live on. His example was an inspiration to me, and I resolved to emulate him. It would be a terrible loss if Traveler were encumbered or somehow restricted in its outreach to present and future fans. With that in mind, I have worked to make Traveler an asset to science fiction role players. With our user-friendly fair use policies, with the Traveler's Aid Society programs, with the Cepheus editions of Traveler, and with Mongoose as a primary publisher of their edition of Traveler. Over the past several years, I have turned over more and more responsibilities to Mongoose, and I have collaborated actively with them as they work to realize the Traveler dream. Earlier this year, I passed full ownership of Traveler to Mongoose in order to secure its future. So keep this in mind. He points out in the announcement that this was not something that just recently happened. It was earlier this year. I know some people have been clamoring to Mongoose about why didn't they announce this? We'll get to that in a sec. Let's continue with the announcement. With that in mind, I point out that following the example of Greg Stafford, I have a succession plan in place. Day-to-day decisions about the Traveler game system are already being made by Mongoose Publishing with my cooperation and approval. And if anything should happen to me, they would carry on with my full knowledge and blessing. That doesn't stop me from speaking my mind, expressing opinions about Traveler, writing stories and lore, and even revealing secrets about the universe. But Traveler is in good hands now and far into the far future. And I thank you for your continuing support for Traveler. Marc Miller. Peaceful Porcupine and Omenal are with us in chat. So, is this a good thing? Or is this a bad thing? Let's discuss. First of all, let's talk about some of the misinformation that was kind of floating around yesterday. Now, I had heard a little bit about this before I did the show last night, but I didn't have an opportunity to really dig into it. And I already had everything set up for last night's show where I shared 10 fantastic fantasy role-playing games which aren't D&D. So I wasn't just going to scrap that. Like I scrapped today's topic. Today's topic was going to be, are crowdfunding projects starting to lose their luster, or words to that effect? And that wasn't going to be very exciting anyway. So once I got a little more solid information, I thought, okay, let's make this tonight's topic. So what I originally heard was that Mongoose Publishing had gotten Traveler and 2300 AD. That is not the case. It is Traveler and many things that are associated with Traveler. Now, Traveler GURPS and Traveler Hero, or is it Hero Traveler? Those are not included in this deal. So that is not the case. But I do believe Original Traveler, Mega Traveler, any Traveler that Marc Miller has had the rights to is transferring over, or has been transferred over to Mongoose Publishing. W4 asked, will we get the Traveler movie that was funded on Kickstarter but never delivered? I know nothing about that, to be honest. Behorn is with us in chat. Good to see you once again. Keldon is popping on in, giving everybody a wave. I don't know anything about the Traveler movie. I don't know who that was through. Yet another reason why, a lot of people are turning their backs on Kickstarter and BackerKit and GameFound and things like that because they're getting kind of tired of, 5-10% of the games that they back not being fulfilled at any point ever. So, but I don't know. I got to be honest. I'll have to look into that. I'll have to check to see. I don't know. Was Marc Miller associated with that or what? As far as Cepheus Engine, I don't think there's anything for anybody to worry about with Cepheus Engine. If you're curious why I don't really share any Cepheus Engine like news pieces or anything, I did a little bit in the past, not a ton, but I did a little bit. And then, what is it? Zoser Games? Is that who does? I think that's who does the official Cepheus Engine. All their artwork is AI generated, so I do not promote companies. I do not promote publishers. It doesn't matter how big or small. If it's a one-man outfit, it doesn't matter. I am not going to promote AI generated artwork because, in my opinion, as well as many other people's opinions, it's stealing from other artists. So it's using other artists' work without their express permission. So I just don't do it. So I'm not knocking any small publisher for using it. I mean, that is the choice that they make, right? So that I'm not here to pass judgment on that. But I will not promote publishers who do use AI artwork. So if you're wondering if I had something against Cepheus Engine or Zoser Games, no, I used to actually share news pieces from time to time, every once in a while, but I no longer do. Agile Monk is with us in chat. Good to see us as they're always watching. Now you're making me nervous. Just sitting in the background. Omanal says, hey, 8 years and counting for Kingdom Death to fully fulfill. Yeah, man, that's crazy. I don't understand the fascination with that either. Is it the fan service minis? Is that part of it? I don't know. I have no clue. Gleam1 RX is talking about competitors in our chat. No, joking. I like Seth's stuff too. Says they greatly enjoy Seth Skarkowski's YouTube channel where he's LARPing as his traveler character. He is? I thought I didn't think that's LARPing. I thought he's just doing a shtick. Funny enough, I know this is a very casual topic tonight, so we'll bounce around. We'll get back to it again. My best friend, Elliot Miller, his voice of E, he was, to my knowledge, the first content creator who was doing costumes and doing like little stories, leading into his like reviews and stuff like that. And then it got too much for him, basically. That's why Elliot doesn't do stuff with the gaming gang. I mean, he'll go and he'll help me out with camera work at conventions and that. And every once in a while, he'll be like, oh, I'd really like to get back, in the gang. And I'm like, I know that's not going to happen. Like, I'm more than happy to have him come back, but I just don't know. Keldon says, act, LARP, is there any difference? Well, yeah, LARPing is live action role play. Acting is acting. Omanal asks, so who owns 2300 AD, if not Mongoose? Now, Omanal pointed out Traveler 2300 AD. That's such a weird thing, right? Because I had people like argue with me about 2300 AD not being Traveler. And when it first came out, I remembered when it first came out that it was marketed as Traveler, like the history of Traveler before Traveler, right? So that's what it was promoted as by GDW. And then suddenly it wasn't, I guess. And now I think it's back. Agile Monk says, Seth just has an awesome shtick he does. He's amazing at it. Yeah, he's good. He also seems like he's good people. I think that's probably a big deal too. Because we're not naming names or anything, but there are content creators who focus on role-playing games that kind of come across as dicks. Like me. But yeah, I got to say, Seth always strikes me. He comes across as good people. So does, what the hell is he? The lawyer. I forget I forget his title, right? I think he's Filipino, maybe. Is it the rules lawyer? No, that doesn't sound right. I don't know, maybe it is. He also strikes me as being good people. Gleeman RX asks, is Elliot an older videos from the gaming gang. If you go way back, he is in some that he did himself, because we were kind of doing movies and stuff like that too. And I dropped that, because especially after Elliot left, because I was like, you know what? Gaming is enough, right? And doing some comic book stuff here and there. In fact, I'm always looking for comic book reviewers, because we don't review comics, but there are some publishers who send us the PDFs of the comics, and it's kind of like, there you go. Kevin R. Smith says, yeah, Ron the rules lawyer. So it is the rules lawyer. Okay. Because the rules lawyer is kind of a derogatory term. So he is Filipino. Okay. But I know he's a real lawyer. That's why it's, the title. Anyway, so W. Forge says, Traveler 2300 AD was a sequel to Twilight 2000. Omanal says, yeah, I thought 2300 AD was 300 years after Twilight 2000. Yeah, it's supposed to be as mankind is taking to the stars. Although it's been so long. I mean, I read 2300 when it was originally released. So 40 years since I've read it. But I seem to recall that humanity already had established itself on some planets, like on Mars and things like that. And we had actually kind of expanded beyond the Milky Way. So I don't know. Like I said, it's been so long. But it was kind of, from what I remember, promoted as, oh, this is the story of Traveler, involving like Saul, right? And with Tara. I could be wrong. I could be misremembering. I don't know. But I do not know who owns it. I don't know if that just was not part of the deal with Mongoose. But as I mentioned, that was originally what I had heard, was that Traveler and 2300 AD had been sold to Mongoose. So that was what I originally stumbled across. And then I double checked, and according to Mongoose Publishing, they did not. So there is, I want to say, I think it's on their forum, there is a thread about the announcement that Mongoose now owns Traveler. And like I said, there were people like, how come you didn't tell us? Maybe Marc Miller didn't want it revealed. I mean, what's the big deal? Agile Monk says, yeah, Seth is very down to earth and a cool guy all around. He actually video bombed one of my Gen Con videos, not intentionally. Somebody, I want to say, I think it's my interview with Tomas from Free League Publishing. Somebody was like, oh, did you see who pops up in the background? I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, it's Seth Skierkowski. I was like, really? So I'm looking, and sure enough, all of a sudden it's like, it's either that or it's my interview with Gareth Hanrahan over at Pelgrane Press, when we talked about Moria and the that new campaign for Fall of Delta Green. So, but yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. W. Ford says GDW played an in-house game to set up the history for 2300 AD following the events of Twilight 2000. Agile Monk says Ronald is a nonprofit pro bono attorney. So nice. Very, very cool. Kevin R. Smith says, I saw a still of that he posted on Blue Sky. I'm not sure what Kevin's a still of what. I'm not sure what Kevin's mentioning there. So anyway, so that is not part of the deal. Traveler GURPS is not part of the deal. And Traveler Hero or Hero Traveler, whichever it's called, is not part of the deal. Other GDW releases that are not related to Traveler, nothing. Like somebody had said something about, no love for Dark Conspiracy? No. Oh, Kevin R. Smith, his photo bomb? Really? He posted that? I didn't think Seth would even know who the hell I am. But reality. Anyway, so is it a good thing that Mongoose is now the owners of Traveler and have been for a bit throughout this year? I think so. I honestly do think so. And I'll explain for a few different reasons. You know, I like Traveler a lot. I think, and you got to remember, I don't have a bunch of Mongoose stuff. I only have the starter set, right? So it's a box set, came with the full rules to the game. This is funny enough, it's a starter set, but it's the full rules, right? So usually we see a starter set, it's like, oh, there's no character creation, pre-generated characters. There's enough to kind of get you a feel for how the game plays. No, that's not the case. It's the entire core rule book broken up into 2 books, the character book, as well as the spacecraft and worlds book. And it also includes a campaign. And I want to say the MSRP of the box set is like $80, or no, I think it's $69.99, somewhere around there. So the biggest drawback of Mongoose, and it's all of Mongoose's games, it's not just Traveler, is pricing. The pricing is, let's say, out of step. Let's say that. So the question becomes, now that, because obviously they were paying Marc Miller for rights to the game, so they had to be doing that. So I don't know if there's been a purchase involved, because that's not really been revealed, right? We know that Mongoose Publishing is now the owner of Traveler, right? So it's been turned over to them. So like I said, I don't know what changed hands and things like that. I would hope Marc Miller, got a little nest egg out of that. I'm also hoping that this is not an indication that Marc Miller is in poor health or anything like that. I've never met him. I don't know him. But, I always hate to hear that, a member of the old guard who was behind Traveler and some other titles from GDW, Frank Chadwick was behind a bunch of that stuff too. Although I don't think Frank Chadwick really worked too much on Traveler. I know he was more Twilight 2000, and Frank Chadwick did a lot of the like war games and stuff like that GDW came out with. But regardless, like I said, I'm hoping this is not an indication that Marc Miller has a problem with his health. But yes, Gleeman RX just says the pricing is problematic. Yes, the pricing is high. PDF costs are also expensive, in my opinion. But they're not the only company that's jacking up prices on PDFs. So we want to point that out. Now, Omenal is pointing something out that I think is very important too. Said, Traveler books are high priced, but the PDF bundles are a steal. That's the thing. If you don't mind utilizing PDFs, and I happen to be one of these people, I like to have PDF and physical. Sometimes I just want to have a book in my hands. Other times I just want to be able to pull it up on a tablet or laptop or whatever and kind of dive into things. So I like to have both of a release, the physical and PDF. But if you're cool with PDFs and you keep your eyes peeled, or at least visit thegaminggang.com from time to time, you will find there are always really excellent bundles that pop up multiple times a year for Traveler. Now, the best are when it pops up on Humble Bundle, because that's when you get just hundreds upon hundreds of dollars in PDFs for like $40. I mean, it's insane. Just like there is currently a 2300 AD bundle of holding that's out there, where you can get essentially what's pretty much the entire line from Mongoose for, I think the threshold price was 37-ish when I shared news about that. So yes, the pricing is wonky to say the least, but you can get just absolutely smashing deals if you pay attention to Bundle of Holding and Humble Bundle. So there is that. Kevin R. Smith says, so the question is, did they buy Miller's company, Far Future Enterprises, I believe, or just buy the Traveler IP? I think it's the IP. I don't think it is Miller's company. But once again, the information that we have is what's been revealed by Marc Miller and Mongoose Publishing. So don't really know what to tell you as far as, say, some of the fringe games and stuff like that. Like I said, as far as I understand, we are looking at everything Traveler. So that would be, I would even think like Traveler, wasn't it called The New Era? Wasn't that the Traveler game that sort of pulled the plug on Game Designer Workshop? Isn't that it? Wasn't that the Traveler that did it? Traveler The New Era? Well, okay, so it was that and the fantasy role-playing game that Gary Gygax had been working with GDW to publish, that was pretty much ready to go to the printer, and TSR threatened to sue them if they went through with it. So that hurt GDW a lot as well, because not only had they sunk assets into that, but they were also, expecting those profits. Omanal says it's $32 for the 2300 AD bundle of holding right now. And it includes the Mongoose core book. So the Traveler 2022 update book and all the 2300 Mongoose books. So yes, that's a smashing deal. It really, really is. Anyway, I really like Traveler. I think Mongoose has done really good work. It used to be Mongoose was problematic. That's a word we've been using tonight. As far as the quality of their content, like 10 years ago, even not that long ago. And from time to time, even to this day, things kind of slip through, quality control. But the quality of their releases has improved. And from what I hear from a lot of people, once again, like I said, I don't have really any Traveler stuff outside of the starter set, which was sent to me by Mongoose Publishing. I reviewed it. I loved it. I thought it was great. I think I did mention it was pricey at like $70. Anyway, so I think it's a good thing for a few reasons. One of the reasons is that even with Mongoose having Traveler Second Edition, or as a lot of people like to refer to it, Mongoose Traveler Second Edition, there was confusion because you still had Traveler 5, which was Marc Miller. And I had heard from people that was really more toolbox than game, that good luck trying to run Traveler from that. And then you've got the Cepheus Engine releases, which someone in chat said it's not Zoser Games, it's somebody else that does like the deluxe edition of Cepheus Engine, and they don't use AI artwork. Anything's possible. As far as things go with Cepheus Engine, I'm only familiar with the Zoser Games releasing stuff for it, and I know they actually will, use AI art. So W Ford says, Traveler, the new era was a second revamping of the Traveler universe after the rebellion. Players didn't like how they abandoned the original storyline. Kevin R. Smith says, were they trying to reboot the reboot they did in Mega Traveler? Yeah, sort of. Lewin RX says, they've been waiting on a YouTuber named Ed May playing original Traveler solo. Oh, I think they've been watching. And it inspired them to give it a try. Kevin R. Smith says, there's also the fact that more people appear to be playing Mongoose Traveler than Traveler 5. I would say that makes sense. So there's some discussion of people picking up Mongoose Traveler for like $40. It's the old printing, so I guess that's first edition Mongoose Traveler, because there were some tweaks that were done with second edition, which is what you're into now. So I would think that it's a good thing for Traveler as an IP that it's not as fractured as it had been. Because once again, remember, there's Traveler GURPS, Traveler Hero, there's Cepheus Engine, there's all different third-party releases for Cepheus Engine. There's original Traveler that people will still release stuff for because it's not truly Cepheus Engine. So kind of all over the place. So having the IP with Mongoose, I think, is going to kind of tighten that up. Something else that was not mentioned in the announcement, but I can guarantee was on Marc Miller's mind, was not only with Greg Stafford passing and Chaosium being all lined up to just take over when Greg Stafford passed away, as far as RuneQuest and Glorantha. I guarantee you that everything that went on with Tunnels and Trolls after Rick Loomis passed away in 2019, I think that's when he passed, and Tunnels and Trolls ending up in limbo and nobody knowing how you could pick up a copy of the game, and then it bouncing from ownership to ownership and fights breaking out about who had rights to what. And now that it's with Rebellion, like I said, Rebellion, we were talking about this last night. People were mentioning in chat that Rebellion has plans to print a new edition. Okay, cool, because they purchased the IP, but who knows when that's going to be. So I know Marc Miller did not want something like that to be taking place and then just have Traveler fade away into the background. Although, to be honest with you, I don't think it would ever really fade away. I mean, Traveler's been around for a long time. There are a lot of people who are fans of Traveler. A lot of people out there still play original Traveler. Because the funny thing is, original Traveler with the little black books and Mongoose Traveler 2nd edition, they're not radically different. Of course, yes, they are different, but it's far fewer changes with original Traveler to Mongoose Traveler 2nd edition than original Dungeons and Dragons to 5e Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, those two are vastly different in many, many ways, almost in all ways. Whereas original Traveler and Mongoose Traveler 2nd edition, very, very similar, really are. One thing that I got to be honest, I never really cared for with GDW Traveler, the original Traveler with the little black books. Now, I'm not talking about the core system. And I'm not talking about like Mercenaries and the High Guard and things like that. It was the adventures. I always found the adventures were like really dry reading. Now, some of those adventures were really good, but they were just sort of not very exciting to read. But let's be honest, that's kind of par for the course for a lot of adventures way back in the day. But more so the GDW adventures, especially now I'm really dating myself. When they used to come out with the little black book that had 2 adventures, one on each side. They were kind of like, okay. Kevin R. Smith says the Chaosium situation when Stafford passed was kind of a stroke of luck after the company almost went belly up and Stafford ended up in a position to take over again. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize just how close Chaosium came to going belly up. And there's an individual that I will not name who carried a lot of that blame. And they were with Chaosium forever. But it's a really good thing that Greg Stafford did step in. And I mean, there were people who had been with Chaosium for a long time who just were not in any sort of positions of, I don't want to say power, but positions where they were decision makers who are still with Chaosium. And now they've actually been moved to positions where they do make decisions and they make really good decisions. I know there are people out there like, Chaosium, they're woke now. Slap. Get out of here. Chaosium's one of my favorite companies. Even when we butt heads, they're still one of my all-time favorite companies. So as far as not seeing Traveler just fade away, like we've seen with Tunnels and Trolls, and we were talking about it last night, people are like, how do I get my hands on Tunnels and Trolls? I've always heard great things about it. Outside of having to go onto the secondary market and paying top dollar. Somebody had told me that deluxe Tunnels and Trolls that I've got sells for like $250. It's like, really? Dave S. is with us in chat. Kevin King is with us. I don't think I said hello to Kevin. Kevin said, played Traveler once at a party in grad school. We were all pretty far gone by the point we started. I think I died twice before the ultimate total party kill. Yeah, the old death in character creation, which is still around if you want it to be. That's a misconception about the Mongoose Traveler is, oh, well, you can't die in character creation. It's like, yeah. Omanal says Chaosium issues with Michael Moorcock. I think it was more Michael Moorcock's issues with Chaosium than the other way around. I don't know. So Kevin King says, yes, he did die during character creation, if memory serves. So I think this is a good thing. I think this is a really good thing because Mongoose does really nice work with Traveler. They support it a lot. We see a lot of stuff come out for Traveler. Yes, we do see the updates pop out from time to time. I think the latest update is to the Gamemaster Screen. I think that's the latest of the like revamp updates that have come out. But like the core rulebook, it's the updated 2022, things like that. But they don't have like massive changes to them. But I always see adventures popping out. So one thing I think is kind of strange though is that they'll have like adventures series. They're not necessarily like truly like campaigns that each story is in kind of lockstep. It's not like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Enemy Within, right? Where it's like, okay, so this is part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. That's the campaign. These are a little more standalone, but what I find is really odd is that they don't complete a specific line, right? So there's like the Reach adventures, and it's like, okay, so they come out with one of those, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, we're going to start this new series. And then, oh, look, there's an adventure for this other series that's been out. It's kind of strange how it bounces around a little bit. I'm sure there's a method to the madness. I just don't know what they would be or what it would be. But all in all, the answer to the question, is it a good thing? I think it is. I'm curious what you might think. If you want to pop your thoughts into chat, or if you happen to be watching this on Memorex, after the fact, by all means, let me know. Let me know what you think. Now, I have heard from a couple of people that they're not happy to see 2300 AD and Traveler be separated. But the thing is, Mongoose is still publishing stuff for 2300 AD. They haven't come out with something recently, but they did mention in their response to all this news that they've actually been trying to recruit more writers for it, and they have a couple of products that are in the pipeline. So W4 says, Mongoose has Traveler campaign box sets. Yes, they do. But like I'm saying, the individual adventures that come out, which I think end up in box sets, are kind of scattered. A little bit of a like shotgun approach to those. Flaming Heron says, doesn't concern me so long as they give bundles of their books. Omanal points out, not sure if there's a big role-playing game company that didn't go bankrupt at least once. I don't think Paizo has. I could be wrong. I don't know if they did. Agile Monk says they still play original Traveler. They also fell in love with FGU's Space Opera. I had that. I had Space Opera, the box set, as well as a few of the releases that they had. Traveler survived much longer, obviously. Dave S. says, it'd be awesome to see a Traveler computer role-playing game. Oh, my God. They tried that a few times. And that was back in the day when you really didn't have the internet. So when a game came out and you went and bought it and it had a lot of bugs, you were stuck. You were shit out of luck. Trust me, I know. And Mega Traveler was one of the computer role-playing games that they did. And it was fucking awful. It was broken. And you were stuck with it. It was like, there was no, oh, well, I can at least go download a patch. Ha! No. John Mascola says, it's a wise decision. Any game must outlive their creators. Children must outlive their parents. Kevin R. Smith says, yeah, as far as they know, they don't think Paizo's gone bankrupt either. Flaming Heron says, I feel Elite Dangerous feels a lot like Traveler. I'm not familiar with Elite Dangerous. Is that still through almost said Mongoose? Is that still through Modifius Entertainment, or is that with somebody else? Because I could have swore that was Modifius at one point. But things kind of come and go a little bit with Modifius, as far as kind of like Cubicle 7 once was, where Cubicle 7 published a lot of role-playing games that were not created in-house. Modifius does that quite a bit. And now Cubicle 7 stays away from that. Everything is for them. Gleamwin RX says, Elite Dangerous is a video game. It is also a role-playing game. So John Mascola says it's through somebody else. Yeah, what am I must be thinking of. Oh, I know what it is. It's the role-playing game that's based on the miniatures, on the science fiction miniatures. That's the science fiction role-playing game that I'm thinking of with Modifius. It's Corvus Belli is the company that does the miniatures game. So W. Forge says, isn't Iron Crown Enterprise still around? Yeah, they are. I mean, I don't know if it's the same people who, were running the show back in the day, back when they did the original Rolemaster and Middle-earth role-playing and stuff like that. But I know they're still around, because they had asked me if I'd be interested in reviewing the latest edition of Rolemaster, and I said no. I actually said no. It didn't look like it was up my alley. For one, the artwork was all that like really bad computer generated stuff that we would see from really awful board games, where the character models just, it's not even that uncanny valley. Isn't that what they call it? Where something looks too lifelike that it's just creeping you out. It's not that. It's just shitty looking. And I was like, I know, makes me sound bad, but I thought to myself, man, I don't want to have to be looking at that, reading through this. Agile Monk says that their son does contract work for Iron Crown Enterprises. Well, that's cool. Hopefully he's not the guy who does their art. I know. I could be evil. So, hey, Stephanie McLeod, I think that's how it's pronounced, of... oh gosh, now I can't remember the publisher. Sylvian Fox? Isn't that it? Hey, that's what happens when you got all these games rolling around in your head, all these publishers in your head. Says Rolemaster and Rifts are two returning ROGs no one asked for. Bring back Ghostbusters. No argument there. Bring back Bushido. Bring back Bushido. That was a good FGU role-playing game. That was really... Bring back James Bond from Victory Games. Bring that back. I agree. I'm right with you on that. And we know I have absolutely no time whatsoever for Palladium games. So that's why I won't even share news pieces for Savage Worlds riffs. And you know, I'll share stuff from Pinnacle Entertainment Group, but I'm like, nope. I'm not throwing a single bone to Uncle Kevin there. Speaking of, Kevin R. Smith says, yeah, Palladium would stick to licensing riffs to Pinnacle Entertainment for Savage Worlds. It'd be great. Vorpal Bite is with us, says Boot Hill, bring Boot Hill back. You know, Boot Hill was, well, okay. So the only Boot Hill I had was first edition. I know somebody who had second edition. I only had first edition, and first edition Boot Hill was actually really bare bones. So I can guarantee there are some far better just Old West role-playing games out there, such as Aces and Eights. That's one that's floating out there. There was somebody I could have swore shared. It was on Drive-Thru RPG. It was like their modern take on Boot Hill. So, and I think they were actually using Boot Hill as the title. So Kevin King says Savage Worlds version of Riffs is much more coherent. Low bar. All right. Well. Nice. Stygian Fox. That's it. I was like, what the hell is the name of the company? Excellent Call of Cthulhu adventures. Modern Call of Cthulhu adventures. Anyway, see, that would have just bugged me for the rest of the night. I've been like, I gotta go look it up. W. Ford says he wouldn't mind seeing Star Frontiers come back. I thought they got shut down, but then they were back at it. I think that they got the okay. I thought there was a sort of retro clone of Star Frontiers. Isn't that Frontier Space? Isn't that it? I know one of them got shut down. There was one that was out there that got shut down by Wizards of the Coast, and then they changed their mind. So Cthulhu says, Stygian Fox, didn't they do that one song back in the 80s? Let's Go All the Way. I don't know. Peaceful Porcupine said, isn't there a horrible controversy around Star Frontiers recently? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I know our friend Steven from Roll for Combat just had a video today where it was something about another week, another Dungeons and Dragons controversy. So Vorpal Bites asking, what would I recommend for space science fiction role-playing game? It's Macaulay, thank you. I wasn't sure. I mean, funny enough, my last name's Macaleer. But everybody gets that wrong all the time, too. Anyway, Traveler, obviously. I mean, I think Traveler's an excellent science fiction role-playing game. If you're looking more for like space opera and you don't want to go like the actual Star Wars route with the Edge Studio releases, I would say open D6. I mean, there's D6. I think it's is it D6 Space? I think that's still around, which was built off of the old West End Games D6, which powered Star Wars when they had it. So Stephanie says, if we're going retro, Bushido, Continuum, role-playing in the Yet. I'm not familiar with that. And Godlike. Is Godlike out of print? I thought it was still around. Chris Lundgren's popping on in as we're about ready to shut things down. Omanel says Coriolis from Free League out of print now. We're awaiting the second edition of Coriolis, and it looks as if second edition Coriolis is going to have a completely different vibe to it. It's not going to have that like Arabian Nights in space vibe anymore. Kevin R. Smith says the racist version of Star Frontiers was Star Frontiers New Genesis. I don't think any physical copies were ever printed because the head of New TSR sucked at actual business. Well, just like we had the racist version of Top Secret that came out. It was funny because when somebody was like, oh, wasn't there like a big controversy about Star Frontiers? First thing I thought of was New TSR. Yeah, you notice I may have shared one news piece about them, and that is it. Agile Monk says, go Space Opera. FGU. I'll take a guess. Maybe that is still in available in PDF. Maybe. I don't know. Michael Burrell has popped on in and says, there was a racist version of Top Secret. I never heard about that. Yeah, it was, what the hell do they call it? New World Order or something like that? I never saw it. But I actually heard that it was absolute dog shit. So, Shatter Zone was the West End Games replacement for Star Wars when they lost the license. Flaming Heron says, we need a list of all the companies Jeff refuses to talk about now. There aren't many. There's only a handful. I mean, and even, you know, like I've said before, like with Steve Jackson Games, I admit my mistakes, right? So, I mean, I got nothing against them, but there are a few others, not many, not really. I mean, yes, okay, Palladium, but you just go take a look at the Robotech Kickstarter bullshit and other stuff, like somebody who was working for Palladium who allegedly tried to commit suicide, and how Uncle Kevin tried to play off that. It was all fucked up. I mean, it was really fucked up. So yes, that's why I don't talk about them. Yeah, but really off the top of my head, I think that's it. I mean, some companies I just don't promote, as I pointed out before, because they use AI artwork. The Red Room, that's a company I won't talk about because I gave one of their releases a lackluster review score, and they got all crybaby pissy about it and actually did a video and shared a video complaining about it. And I was like, give me a break. It was like, you know, get some thick skin. And I mean, they're like super, because remember, I've talked about this before, and then we're going to wrap up because the show's going long again. I will share reviews and news pieces from people of all political stripes, all nationalities, all races, all sexual orientation, all of that, right? I'm fine with that. And people are like, oh, well, XYZ's, conservative. Yeah, he's a really right-wing guy. Well, being conservative doesn't necessarily make someone a right-wing extremist. Just like for some of you out there, just because I have views that are left of center does not make me a left-wing extremist by any stretch of the imagination. But the folks at the Red Room are way more to the right. And they're from like Italy than I, care to deal with. So Stephanie says, on that subject, if you're feeling like you need help and are struggling, please reach out to your local services. We need you to still game. I get it. I understand that. And my heart goes out to people like that. And I got to be honest, that is like the biggest reason why I will not promote Palladium Games is because of how Uncle Kevin tried to use that to offload responsibility for not fulfilling on that Robotech Kickstarter, as well as trying to draw in pledges for another Kickstarter he was doing. I was like, no. Flaming Heron says, do you hold that much sway, Jeff? I don't know. I don't think so. But they're, like I said, they did. Because you know what? I think there were some other reviewers who were like, yeah, not very good. What I did a review of. And they were upset. They were like, oh, these people just don't know games. And yeah, I was like, whatever. It's like, I've been playing these things for over 40 years. No, I don't know anything about them. You're trying to sell something. I gave it a lackluster score as far as a review. Who's got the axe to grind? Not me. So Kevin R. Smith says, I thought it was Portugal they're out of. Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know. They're not American. That's all that matters. Coco B said they heard Wenger Satanis is done producing games. Somebody else that I don't share news pieces from, and they were constantly hitting me up saying, Jeff, do me a favor. Could you amplify the word on this? No, because you can disagree with people, but I'm not going to let, somebody who hates on a certain type of person, they're not going to get promotion from me. This is me, whatever, right? It's my outlet. It's my website. I call the shots. I have no obligation. Any publisher, I have no obligation to anybody watching this. I don't have any obligation to anybody who comes and visits the website. So if a publisher does not meet my rather low criteria to share news pieces or do reviews in that, oh, well, I'm sure there's somebody else out there who's more than happy to cover them. All right. So Chris Lundgren says, Warforged, the quick start rules. It says it's like an 8-page Mech-10 alpha. Yeah, I don't know. Agile Monk says, hey, Jeff gave me a lackluster review and I still like him. I did? He says, just kidding. Yeah, Agile Monk, 5.5 out of 10, maybe if I'm pushing it. W4 says they're going to do a second edition of Dungeon World despite the conspiracy over one of the original creators. I did hear about that. I don't know about the controversy, though. Once again, I don't involve myself too deeply into a lot of things that are floating around online. That's why I'm usually one of the last people to find out about, oh, you didn't hear about the controversy about XYZ? Just like Steven from Roll for Combat, like I said, just did a video today, another week, another Dungeons and Dragons controversy. And I looked because I thought, oh, why is that popping up in my feed? He just did that video. And I looked, I'm like, oh, it's yet another one. I don't know what the controversy is, though, to be honest. Anywho, that is it for this time out. On tomorrow's show, seeing it's going to be the last episode of The Dispatch for August, it will be the August AMA. It is an Ask Me Anything. So if you are going to be hanging out in chat, there's something you want to ask me, hopefully more game related than anything else. But people ask stuff like what kind of music I like, what movies I like, stuff like that. That's fine. So that's what it'll be tomorrow. It'll be the AMA. I know, not all that exciting, but some people like hanging out for them. So that will be tomorrow's topic. So keep that in mind. All right. So if you were watching live tonight, thank you very much. If you watch live and happen to take part in chat, a bigger thank you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're keeping each other company as well. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you for watching any of the videos here on the YouTube channel. Of course, when you're not watching videos here on the channel, don't forget, visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening. If you like the video, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It'll also let you know when I share other videos, such as this weekend's upcoming review of Jewel of the Indigo Isles from Roll for Combat. That name just keeps popping up a lot on today's show. All right, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, I certainly hope every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.